watching it. So thank you for joining us. So my name is Antonina, aka the Coachinista. I'm a high vibe coach and mentor for spiritpreneurs. And I am joined by Michele Parent.
Hello.
Storyteller and branding designer. And the reason we're coming together today is we have had a crazy off-the-cuff idea to create an anti-launch launch. Now, let me explain. Me and Michele are about to collaborate on a number of projects. We both serve the spiritual community. So your healers, your light workers, your energy workers, creatives, heart and soul service providers. And we are about to release a number of products for that community. Now, I know that having spent time in each other's company, we also know that we are very much anti-traditional marketing and anti-traditional sales and marketing model. So we thought, what is the best way to market ourselves in a way that feels congruent, fun, and true to who we are and what we believe in? And so we came up with this idea of launching the show, so what you're watching now, documenting the creative process behind the scenes, the ups and downs, the conversations that we have, and just really an evolution of the idea from very beginning to the very end. Like I said, this is completely off-the-cuff idea. We're doing it one take, recorded live, and just go with the flow and see what happens. We're literally laying it out as we speak. So this is going to be episode 1, and I hope you join us and watch all of them. I'm going to hand over to Michele, who's going to set the topic for today, and we're going to have a discussion around it. And then we're going to choose a topic for next week and do the same next week. And you will see how this launch happens. So you will either resonate with the idea and want to join us, or you will not. So this selection will be very natural, nothing contrived, and straightforward. So over to you, Michele. Let's go. Let's see where this takes us.
Well, welcome to our little celestial unicorn show. We're actually quite excited to do this. We have meetups every Saturday. We have a ton of laugh, and it's just so exciting and empowering. And we both want to get you guys kind of following with us in this journey, because you all go through the same process in your business. And sometimes when you do it on your own, it can feel overwhelming, it can feel scary, and all that kind of stuff. So if we travel with you, then you know that what you see sometime online, it's everyone's pretty side of things. But sometimes it's scary, sometimes it's overwhelming, sometimes it's ugly and messy, and sometimes it's completely hysterical. So we'll bring you along. We'll have a ton of fun. And please comment. I like having conversations about these things. I like to know what you think, how this resonates with you, what you may need help with, and all that kind of stuff. So each little shows that we have will have one subject, one theme. And this week is how to attract your tribe online, like through your vibes. And what are your vibes, and what are you showing forward? Like, what are you projecting to the world and how you show up? So we'll both talk about what does it mean to us to attract your tribe with your vibe. So Antonina, what does that mean to you?
Okay, well, my experience has been the tribe building part was and is a central part of my essential component, shall I say, of my business system, of my business blueprint, whatever you want to call it, formula. And reason being an empath, sensitive, I found that this whole idea, which is popular right now, about showing up in Facebook groups numerous times per day with numerous content. Exhausting. I tried running that way for, I don't know, 3 months or so, and I found myself completely burned out. It was a constant creativity cycle where you'd have to produce, express, show up, show up somewhere else. And there's all these rules that are just, the rule book is growing every day, isn't it? So you can't post multiple times in a certain group. You have to change the headings. There are theories now as to what time you should be posting, and how many posts, and how many pictures. Just freaking exhausting. So the way I thought about this, and I have decided I'm going to grow my own tribe, and people who would be coming into it would be attracted to what we stand for, because I don't believe it's my tribe. It's we are a tribe. We are, um, you know, we are all standing together, and they would be attracted to the idea of how we do things, and go from there. So I've actually once been encouraged to invite people in, and I've tried it, and that did not resonate with me at all. So I don't actually actively go and seek out members and invite them into the group. I believe into freedom of choice. So that's kind of where I'm at in a nutshell. So of course, there's more nuances to that, which is why I'm going to hand you over to you and kind of get your view on that, and then we'll go from there.
Perfect. I totally resonate with the whole group thing. When we met, I had a group. We had the exact same amount of people in a group, 33 members each. And you're about to grow. And I'm like, screw this. I'm exhausted. I can't do this. It was not, I was spreading myself so thin. I was not showing up. It was not about my passion, my anything. At some point, it's just like I had to deliver and follow these rules. So I fully agree with you. And for me, for what I experienced, when I dropped the group, I had no home to show up from. So I kind of flip-flopped for a while. And it's when I started to do the branding thing, because that reconnected me with who I really was on a deeper level. And then I started just showing up as me, not because I was selling something, because I realized that my Facebook page only has 59 likes because I never link it anywhere. I never talk about it. I don't link my website anywhere. I just am. So I get passionate about a picture that I see somewhere, or a graphic, or there's a quote that just comes out of me. I need to say something. I just show up. I show up as me. And then I get people who message me out of nowhere, even from health group at times. And they go, I just love your vibe. And so people are like, can we be BFFs? Can we be, and it's like this sudden resonance. I don't have to do anything but show up as me. So I definitely learned this by ditching all the rules and just be me. But you do have to show up, because they can't resonate to something who doesn't exist. So you have to show up, but you have to be like just you, but you with passion. Like if you get stuck in all the shoulds and the rules and the everything, it keeps you from a lower vibration. And then what shows up in your life may not be what you want to show up in your life. So when I look through an image and there's a quote who comes up, or there's just a part of me who becomes alive, and I show up with that, it's like it vibrates of its own. And then people show up to me. Like I don't say, come over. They just show up.
Yeah.
And that's really what a tribe is the more aligned and authentic you are within yourself, the more you show up for yourself, the more people will come into you, because you become a big ass magnet. So I do enjoy that part. Now I'm like, oh, sorry. You were saying something.
I said I definitely know that when you started showing up as yourself, because like you said, that it's hard to miss that magnetizing action. And what I also, from a observer's point of view, when that happens, because we're talking about similar but different things. Where you were saying how to show up in groups, and I was talking from the perspective of like how to create a group. But I've noticed, because I have the specters of seats and I'm able to observe and study that, I also noticed that when you show up so powerfully as yourself, it does not have, there doesn't need to be a routine, there doesn't need to be a set time, there doesn't need to be a structure. Every time you show up so powerfully, that's enough to cause a trail of aha or even an energetic print behind. And so whoever is meant to see it at that time, at that moment, does. And I think it attracts the right amount of people at exactly the right time and on the right vibratory level as well.
Absolutely. Talking about what you just said, sometimes you feel like you show up and then you do this work and no one is noticing you. Like you feel unheard, unnoticed on those things. And what I have learned, because I was a photographer before and I did have to show up a lot, is that what I felt inside was mirrored directly outside. So I said, I want clients, but within myself, I was scared of A, B, and C. And then clients would come and then they wouldn't book or they wanted lower prices. And I was like, what am I doing? Like, do I need to show up more? And it was just a reflection of what inside was out of alignment. So it's not about the quantity you show up. It's not about anything. It's really a core, because showing up is kind of part of your branding because you become your brand. So if your core self is not in alignment, if you're scared that you're going to have too much clients because you're going to not have enough time, you're not good enough, and maybe someone's going to call you out on your worth or your qualities or whatever, then this is going to reflect. It's going to reflect on who you attract or how many people you attract. So if you show up and you're like, I love what I do, I own what I do, and I'm really going to help you transform, then people will come in with that expectation and you don't even have to say a word. It's such a strong vibration that you come up with.
Yeah.
So it's important that instead of being defeated by not attracting people, is to understand that it's mirroring something you need to see, something, and it's a gift. I find these things are gifts. So if it ever happens, just like sit with it and figure out, like, what do I truly honestly feel inside? Am I scared of something? Am I scared of showing up too much? Am I scared of not being good enough? Am I scared of sometimes I personally have a child and I just want to do my meetups from this time to this time and I feel limited. Therefore, I put limits on myself, and then suddenly clients who comes are more limited. If I open my schedule to much more hours, suddenly I don't feel in lack of time, because lack of time is one of my block. If I feel in lack of time, I have less clients. So if I feel in abundance of time, then I have enough space to fit more people, and then suddenly I have more clients. So figure out what is blocking you, because that's your way to freedom.
Interesting. So let me pick up on that. You made a really interesting point, which I think will be useful for others who are watching that. You said about flipping it and experiencing an abundance of time, clients whatsoever. So for yourself, how do you flip that switch? How do you flip into from lack into feelings of abundance?
Well, over the summer, I was in a bubble of really high vibe, perfect inner peace, and I had like 1 foot in 3rd dimension and 1 foot in 5th dimension, and it was magical. Time, I could alter time like this. And like it is, even if you go over the speed limit, it takes no shorter amount of time than 12 or 13 minutes to get to my work. And then I would sit in my car and I said, well, I got 10. So that's what I got. And I would get to work in 9 minutes without speeding in traffic. And I was like, I don't know how this even happened, but it did. Or I would order a package on a 2-day shipping and it would come 23 hours after it was ordered from the US to Canada. And then the shipper's like, I don't know how this happened. This never happens. Like it's not possible that you have that I'm shipping this to you right away. But I can like shift time. So then when I hit a place during building the academy where I was so stressed, I stopped doing self-care. I dropped my frequency like nobody's business. I became in lack of time. Like the more in lack of time I was, the everything went out of alignment. Things were a lot harder, and it overall it affected who attracted, who was part of whatever. So I realized lack of time is something that I'm triggered by, but it's also something that I had the opportunity to know that you can alter time. Time is honestly an illusion, and it's in a reflection of what you think of it. So if you think you don't have enough time, let me tell you, you won't have enough. And it's going to affect everything that's related to not have enough time. So I seriously, when I realize I'm out of time, I just do my own mantra. I'm in abundance of time. I'm in abundance of time. I'm in abundance of time. I have freedom of time. I'm in abundance. Like I will say it till it just like I can feel myself vibrating, and then suddenly I get all this work done, and it's only been an hour and a half versus doing a little bit of work and realizing 5 hours went by. So I'm more productive. It feels better, and I feel like I'm putting a lot less effort to get more done.
Okay, that's a great point. And yeah, mantra is definitely one of my favorite goals too, about having abundance of time and doing everything in time. Um, Definitely relate to the speeding of the time as well. It's absolutely totally possible. You just have to believe it and with your imagination, right? I was just doing that yesterday. I was left the house later than usual, and I was supposed to meet somebody, and I could see that I wasn't going to make it on the point that I said I was. So I did this trick where I imagined time slowing down, but the train speeding up. I was still a little bit after the time frame was set, but not as late as I could have been because I know how long the train journey takes. So I clicked in the second part of the journey. So I did that in the second part, and I reckon I saved myself a good minutes in getting there. So yeah, it's totally quantum shifting, quantum jumping is totally possible these days.
Absolutely. I mean, our belief systems to what we know has such a big impact. So if you've been told all your life that you have to work a lot to get something done, then that's what you're going to believe, and it's going to affect everything. So when you start to just know you can shift things, I find you get in a better flow. And when you're in a better flow and when you're in a higher vibe, then you start attracting a different audience, which is where the magic comes from. So that tribe of people needs you, and you connect from a different level. Something else I've also started doing to attract my tribe is when I create a project that I'm passionate about, I literally ask the universe, I love what I'm doing. Please bring me everyone who needs this right now. And it happens.
Yeah. Love that. So yes, we're talking about finding your tribe online. So we just mentioned about how to free yourself from limitations and also show up powerfully. The question I had before we kind of we leaped into the quantum shift was about so when you show up powerfully, you don't necessarily have to have a schedule or a system to show up, because you only show up as yourself. So I guess my question is, any kind of tips, anything you want to share about more on how to show up more powerfully within, let's say, group setting environment online? So how do you show up more, no, let me rephrase that. How do you show up more powerfully as yourself on regular basis? And what to do when you don't feel the highlight?
I find to show up more powerfully as yourself, it starts with knowing who you are. And that's often it's not just not knowing who you are, but it's believing that you don't know who you are. So I get a lot of people who knows like I'd love to do branding, but I haven't figured myself out yet, and blah blah blah. But if you keep telling yourself you don't know who you are, you're not in alignment, you're not this, you're not that, then you won't be. By knowing that you can know who you are, you know so much more than you allow yourself to know. So be in your knowing at all time and trust that you do know. So once you accept that you know who you are, how you are, what you want, and all that kind of stuff, then you can start pulling this forward, like just bring it out, projecting out. And then once you figure this out, because it's not a complex puzzle, we just like to think it's one. Um, then you just do things that vibrates with you. So get out of your head, first of all, because we think too much. And it doesn't help that I find coaching and all that kind of stuff has so many rules, and that's how people get their people in their list. Like just follow these 5 steps to do A, B, and C. So then these become kind of ingrained in us versus being taken more lightly. So I have to do this, and I have to do that, and I have to do this. So to me, I find just be more at peace. Take little things that resonate, and then when you show up in words, be vulnerable. I find people are not vulnerable enough. Vulnerability is something that we all experience. And if you come in like, I just got all this amazing, go for it. They don't. But everyone feels a fear of being heard, a fear of being understood. And if you start with a level of vulnerability, then you'll tap into their you get me factor. So from there, you can build up into the expert mode, but you have to start in a place where they can connect with you. That connection is so powerful. So I'm honest. I'm an open book about who I am, where I come from, the ups, the downs, the ugly, and the funny. And then people can connect with that. The Me Too factor is so powerful. And we don't utilize it enough. We're afraid of our own shadows, so we don't want to share them with other people. But everyone has their shadow, so it's a lot less scary if we can just walk with other people in the shade versus like just avoiding it. So doing all these things and then finding visuals that really resonates. So like when I find an image, I don't go, oh, that's pretty, or people are into that stuff, or that's the right shade. But I just sit with it, and then suddenly something inside me gets really excited. So I'm like, that picture right now is what I need. It's just like people. Like when I ask for people, bring me the client who needs me, and it will, I get the same kind of feeling with finding the right visuals. So it's kind of like they're giving me the right image that fits at the right time for the message that I have bursting inside. And sometimes the visuals allow me to put words to it. Sometimes it's word and then the visual comes after. And then I just share this because people communicate in so many different ways. Some are readers. Personally, if you write a big, long it's funny because I like writing and I write a lot. But if someone write a big, long text, often I skip it. I skip it because it's not how I personally process information. So be mindful of how you show up, that people process information differently. So like, I try to have a visual aspect of what I'm saying. I try to have a written aspect of what I'm saying, and I'm working toward having an audio version of what I'm saying, either by videos or by recording just voiceover. So whoever learns in a certain way has an opportunity to hear your message and connect with you on a deeper level. So that's what I got.
I like that little system you presented. So yes, what I heard from that, and I also want to add from my own experiences, yes, cater to the sense, the other person's senses. So we have the feeling, the well, you can't just smell online, but obviously all the other senses that can be engaged in that respect. So if you are better at expressing yourself, video or audio, if you're a better writer, then perhaps consider writing it down and add the visual aspect to it and so forth. But try to cater for more than just one sense. Definitely, most definitely. kind of allow people into your world, allow them to get to know who you are at a soul level, because we all come in with this thing of we kind of know who we are. We tend to start just doing stuff of like, buy my stuff, here is what I offer. But then remember and recognize that uh, the person reading that will be asking themselves, well, why do I want to get it from you and nobody else? What makes me, what's going to make me choose you? And also consider the fact that whoever is reading that might be thinking, or might be experiencing, like, are you going to be the same person that you are if I take you for a coffee? I think this is an important point to make, because there's a lot of inauthenticity online now, a lot of highlight show reel, a lot of, here I am at Eiffel Tower or something, and just not enough realness, and really allowing the readers, the spectators, into knowing who you are at a personal level. And so, if you're going to be posting pictures of you at Eiffel Tower and then wondering why there are crickets on your post, perhaps that's because we don't know who the hell you are, except the only thing we know about you is that you happen to visit Paris one time. You have not answered the question as to why we should buy from you. And also, what gives you the right to sell to us as well? I don't know about you, but I find a lot of people I buy from and buy them because of the experiences they went through, rather than certain accolades. Or I don't know when it was the last time I asked somebody, "Hey, so you're a coach? Let me see your coaching diploma. What courses have you completed?" It is usually the story that draws you in, the experience, what they have gone through, and what they overcome, what puts them in a position to take me through the process. Have they been through a process themselves? Like it's that whole dash of, would I trust somebody who did not have a child to coach me on how to look after my child, which was a big discussion about somebody like Gina Ford, who was very rigid about her routines. Now, she never had a baby herself. Like, how would she know? How does one react to a baby crying? So, same thing here. What puts you in a position to take me through that experience if you haven't been through that experience yourself? And if you have, I would like to know about it. How did you deal with it? What happened at the end? Are you still dealing with it? Maybe you're in the midst of your pain, maybe you're in the midst of that process, and you're just not quite there yet. Are you a wounded healer, or have you successfully dealt with it? So that kind of comes with the sharing and allowing us into the story. And I think also sharing powerfully is about putting an intent behind your words. So why you're sharing what you're sharing with us? Is it out of obligation? You decide to, you think it's 3 o'clock and this is when they said it's optimal time for you to share your stuff? Or you're coming from a place of knowing over that high vibration that you were talking about. You're at that place where I feel really inspired to share something, and I have something to say. It's rising, the energy is rising within me, and I'm ready to share it with the world. There's completely two different intentions. And we have to trust that a lot of people right now are becoming more and more sensitive and perceptive, and so they're able to read behind the lines. So be very clear about your intents with this post. Are you putting it out there for the sake of putting it out there? You're putting it out, what, like, is it supposed to be useful? Is it supposed to magnetize your audience? Is it supposed to provide value? Is it supposed to educate, elevate, innovate? What is it? What are you doing for? What is your purpose?
Empower.
Thank you. So there needs to be, those are kind of the things that go into creating something, a piece of content of the audience. I kind of did it in a reverse way, but yeah, you get the gist.
Well, I have a question.
Okay.
So, because everyone starts somewhere, and our audience could be all different kind of people, I'd like to talk about what were when you started this journey, what were your biggest block to just showing up
Yeah.
and attracting people. So what was between you when you started, and what do you feel is still affecting you today? Because they may be different because we change. So is it like when you were newbie on the scene, is it different than at it now?
Okay, so when I was a newbie on the thing, I think I ran my page for like a year, but I posted no, like you, it had no personality whatsoever. I was hiding behind memes, quotes, and occasional reposts. There was nothing of it from me except maybe the name. So I was like a nameless, faceless entity.
Mm.
And one of the biggest differences that I've made to that was obviously releasing myself from that cage of what will they think that would walk behind it. So what will my friends think if I run myself as a coach? Or rather, if I went deeper, the question here wasn't even so much as coach, but it was the fact that I'm intuitive, I'm sensitive, I'm different. So I think I struggled with that in the beginning. But the story that I would tell myself is like, oh, it's about the coaching bit. Like, what would they think? And so, like I said, yes, a lot of it was about absenteeism and lack of visibility. So, you know, if you went over to my page or something, you wouldn't have no clue who the hell I was, what I was about, what my offer was, because I was hiding it. You'd probably have to dig much deeper. And so, yes, the biggest difference has been about increasing the visibility. Something that you mentioned as well, vulnerability. I always find that one of the greatest responses that I get is when I bring my personality to the post, when I share something personal and from myself, from something that I'm undergoing through, a story about how I've, you know, maybe successfully dealt with this. And it doesn't have to be massive. It does not have to be of I went and I slayed dragons and now I'm a good dragon slayer. It could be as trivial as I had a bad reaction to, you know, I was trolled online and this is what I did and I'm okay now. I think there was one where I posted something, I had a lot of positive response and then I had a negative response and that really got me down because we tend to kind of, you know, that brought it to the surface. That triggered me more than all the positive response. I had a third point to make, but I'm not quite sure where I'm going with that. So I think the vulnerability, working on the visibility. Oh, right, yes. And what I'm working on right now, which at times gets in the way, is the because I know myself really well, I know how I'm able to share, is that having the boundless energy to always share from that place. So I know when it's peak optimal time, and if I miss it, I don't, you know, I'm not able to show up from that place. So I would really say, so sometimes that feels like, oh, you know, I have been invisible, or like if I'm working on this project, like let's say we were working on something behind the scenes, and there's a lot of work that's happening behind the scenes, and if I'm missing that optimal point, then suddenly, like a few days in, you start kind of feeling like, you know, I'm not there. I'm not showing up as myself. So I think what I'm working on currently is that unlimited energetic perspective, but also honoring the fact that I'm better in the morning. So I should do my whole sharing in the morning and just like honor the fact that I'm not as bountiful and as bouncy in the evening. And that's all.
Yeah, I find it interesting when I read about this optimal time for posting, because I live in Halifax in Canada, which there's not many people in my timeline. So everyone is either 4 hours behind me and 5 hours ahead of me. So
Yeah.
what exactly is optimal time? Because like to me it makes no sense to have such thing as optimal time beside you post when you're in your highest vibe moments.
Yes, that's what I meant. I meant I have my optimal time, as in my own optimal time, not the time to post.
Yeah.
My own energetic high vibe happens between 11 and 1. I know that because I've, would have created posts, have made videos, and I would have seen the response, and I also know from like just how I feel in myself afterwards. Not only is it my daughter time or is it evening time, I just don't feel that particular high. So yeah, when I talk about optimal time, I totally mean my own cycle rather than that optimal time. I have no clue what that optimal time is.
Because I see it all the time too. And I was just going through like optimizing my Instagram, for example. And I was seeing all these posts about like posts at optimal time for Instagram user. I'm like, what the hell is optimal time? Like, this affects everyone from around the world. Like, there's no prime time. Like, I post first thing in the morning and I get a certain audience to come in to see my stuff. And I post before bed and I wake up to 26 notifications. So it doesn't really matter. Like, I could post at 3 a.m. I'm going to wake up with some stuff the next morning. So to me, like, because I know some people box themselves and like, they said it's at 3 o'clock and I need to post at 3 o'clock. But what's 3 o'clock?
Well, I suppose that. Yeah, sorry. Go ahead.
No, I'm just saying, like, it's that belief system out there that, I mean, people make entire opt-ins about the best time to post. And as someone who works with clients from around the world, I just don't, it doesn't make any sense to me to do that, I guess.
I think what you're talking about is obviously, and that's what I find a lot with marketing, is when they, or things like marketing, is when they try to systematize and optimize things. So probably somewhere they studied when people come to log in online, and logically it would make sense that most of us kind of check our our Facebook and our email at a certain point in the morning, somewhere between, if you're in traditional working model, between going to work and between you waking up and going to work, and the same in the evening, that people will be online because they have finished their work, they got home, and this is how they're spending their evening. But you rightly made the point that it's difficult to say because as an entrepreneur, most likely you will be working with the whole world, and so what is the optimal time for that? I think, again, coming back to that showing up powerfully, the optimal time is the optimal time for you. When do you feel like you're most powerful? I mean, if you feel like you're most powerful 24/7, then power to you. I'm just that's not the case with me, and I'm aware of that. So for me, the lesson was becoming aware of that. If somebody is able to show up powerfully from 9 to 6, good for them. But it's knowing how you want to show up, knowing where you want to show up, obviously, and knowing the intent behind your showing up. Are you just showing up because you want to show up? Like, that's another thing that I don't want to say I struggle with, but that's what I'm challenged with. I don't want to show up. I don't want to show up. I'd rather not show up. But I know that, for example, I run a group, so it is kind of a big deal that I need to be there. But even so, I either have to get myself in the mood to show up, or be very frank and clear that right now I am not doing that for whatever reason. But perhaps this is where communication comes in. But I'd rather do the truthful route and say, look, I'm going through something, I'm integrating. I need a couple of days out.
Absolutely. I like to add to the question I've asked you about what were your fears about showing up when you started. And I find one is people try to hide behind a business name that is not their own, a branding that's like they separate themselves from it. And I think as healers and the more emotional, conscious, spiritual coaches anyway, that connection is so important. So if you're a logo and you're a name, then there's kind of like a barrier between you and your audience that's really hard to go through, and it's something we do when we hide. So in all of my businesses, the first thing I did when I tried to figure out who I was is a logo. And I'm not saying a logo is not important, but it should be your signature, not your identity, like not your face. You're your brand. So like often I like to do whatever name you find for your business could become your slogan, but you should be your business if you want people to connect. And I did it too. I did it for all my business. When I started coaching, I was vibrational frequency healing and coaching. And if you went on my Facebook page, there was no face of mine. It was just logos and images the same. I had quotes everywhere that belonged to other people.
Yeah.
And I was meditating one day, and I just sat up, and I'm like, I'm Michele. Period. That's who I am, and I'm gonna own it. And it's interesting because I've actually disliked my name my whole life. I've wanted to change it. It was never enough. I changed how to spell it. I wanted to be something else.
Yeah.
And in that very moment when I sat up, and it's like suddenly I just owned it. I was who I was. I was gonna plaster my name everywhere if I had to, and I was cool with it. I suddenly had become my own brand. And that choice alone, I find it's like it lifts the veil between you and your actual tribe. So if you're accessible, you suddenly say, I'm okay to be me. I'm okay the way I am, and we're cool. Join me. Something I didn't like to do before, and I think that's because I was too scared to show up. So I just put something over there so I didn't have to do it.
Definitely can resonate with your saying, even to the point of not liking the name. It took me a long time to grow into my own name. I think I had about 4 iterations of it, so that's about 4 identity changes up until now. And I had that moment as well where I was like, that's my freaking name, so what am I going to do about it? I'm actually going to use it like my and in saying that, I think that's what you said is part of showing up who you are and stopping the disconnect between here's what I'm putting out there and here's who I am. Because really, if we kind of switch into that, what you're putting out there has a lot to do with who you are and where you came from and the journey that you become now. So it is another way of being present with it. And when I say present, as in, let's make a distinction of not being present online 24/7. In fact, that's unhealthy. But just being present with what you're about, who you're about, and owning that part of yourself. Because again, that's what's going to magnetize the audience. That's what's going to resonate. Allow them to resonate with your message. That's what's going to allow them to deselect. Because let's face it, part of being an entrepreneur, part of being your brand, is not everybody is going to like you, not everyone is going to accept you for who you truly are, and we need to truly be okay with that, and understand and accept that part, and be cool with the fact that they're going to do that. They're going to deselect, knowing that I'm going to put myself out there, somebody's going to read it and something like, nah. And allow them to disintegrate into the sea of sameness. And those people who are going to say, hell yeah, I need to know who she is. I need to PM her right now. You showing up as you are as a resonance, as a high vibrational, high frequency, will allow them to do that, just that. So it's almost like, I don't want to say your responsibility, but yeah, it's kind of like your responsibility, and your ability to do that is what's going to draw your tribe.
Yeah, I definitely find that it's quantity. I mean, it's quality over quantity. We've kind of ended up in a market of just show up more, show up more, show up more. But now there's so much of it that it kind of dilutes itself, and it loses, because you cannot show up nonstop with quality, authentic stuff. It's just not possible. And there's so much of it that people like, it's kind of content overload. Like, I'm at a point that unless I truly resonate and there's something inside of me that says I'm having this issues, I'll go for this opt-in. It's like opt-in vomit everywhere I turn. So it needs to really fix my problem and not feel like it needs to be there, but less in my face, I guess. I don't know. There's definitely an overwhelming amount of information, but diluted information. It's not it lost its magic because there's just so much of it. So I rather post once in a group, once in a while when I'm in my zone of genius and I'm so passionate that it's like oozing out of everything, like, and then it's remembered versus me posting 15,000 times about just random things that I like. Oh my
Absolutely.
God, I stubbed my toe and then I just had a moment that was a spiritual enlightening. No, so I don't like, I don't have those moments where I feel like I just need to talk so people see me. Like
Yeah.
I don't want to be on stage.
Yeah, totally. I hear, and by the way, it's 1818 here when you said that. We're always like doing a little counter. So I think what I kind of to round things up, it's really going in against uh, the the everything that's offered there and saying let's take it back to the basics. And I feel a lot of that by introduction of systems, of how-tos, of you know, checklist. It takes it like disconnects itself from something that's completely natural. I mean, when we started using Facebook or when we started marketing ourselves, didn't we just show up as when we wanted and when we could? And suddenly, like, kind of you go off on a tangent and start systematizing that and optimizing that and increasing and playing with the metrics and so forth, where it turns out that the most I want to say natural thing is the most authentic thing is doing it when you can, when you want to, and when you're in a position to, in that powerful energetic space.
And believing that you can too.
Of
I
course.
really find that we make it more complicated than it has to be. So we don't believe we can. So we're doing all those outside things to kind of fill in that void that we have inside. So if you just simplify, you do it when it's actually the right time for you, and you believe you can. It's believing that you're worthy of being seen, that you are good enough is far more powerful than 15 posts that you just put everywhere. Just own it and believe you can have it.
Yeah, absolutely. So kind of definitely, it's saying show up as you did before, but from a more powerful position. And the more powerful position obviously comes from inner self alignment, inner work, and knowing and believing and trusting that you are a powerful being and that you have so much to offer and so much to share and so forth. So hopefully that kind of not only allowed you to understand and share maybe and our view on how to show up online, which completely blows in the face of the kind of the system that's being promoted right now, but also allowed you to be okay with showing up the way you are and how many times and so forth. I think it'd be a good idea to kind of pick next week's topic at this point and see
Absolutely.
we go off on what we're going to go on off on next week. So what do you think, Michelle? What are we talking about next week?
Well,
Some out of
now, yes. Now that we talked about what attracts your tribe, we also touched the fact that you need to know who you are for other people to know they can connect with you. So, as a perfect segue to really attracting your tribe, let's talk about your core identity. Because knowing yourself, knowing that, I promise, you know more than you think you know, and asking the right question really to see who you truly are, what your fire is inside, your why. Really like own up your why, get where it comes from, and all that kind of stuff. So next week, or I assume it's next week. That
that
was fun. Let's make this a weekly show. We're gonna touch into your core identity, and
Love.
join us. Yeah, so join us next week, us lovely celestial unicorns, because we have a good time together.
Wear a fabulous dress or a suit while you're at it. Bring some snacks and join in the discussion. Please let us know if this message, if this transmission resonated with you and what you took away from it. That'd be fantastic.
I agree. So I want to see in the little comment box below some information about what you resonated with, what you felt like, what triggered you, what little haha moments you've had. Yeah, ha. And so like talking about things I found just brings so much clarity. So let's have conversation about this. Let's have conversation about what worked for you, what doesn't work for you, and where do you feel stuck.
Sounds good. We're leaders. We're verbal processors. We need to talk things through more.
Perfect. Thank you.
Peace out.
Bye.